Okay, we're ready to go.
Okay, hello everyone. In Joe's absence today, and as vice chair of this committee, I'll call this meeting to order at 10 a.m. on Friday, July 5th, 2024. I'll start with a land acknowledgement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Potnawandarak, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. I'm going to ask if there's any declaration of interest. Seeing none, I will move on. I'm sort of toggling back and forth here, so just a little delay. We've all seen the agenda sent out by Justin. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Joe, move, and second by Councillor O'Hare. Thank you. Oh, so all in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay. We'll move forward. Thank you. Item number 5 on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from this committee's meeting on May 3rd and May 7th. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Councillor O'Hare, and seconded by Joe. Did I see your hand up, or yeah? Okay, thank you. Again, all those in favor? Opposed? And that moves forward. Thank you. Okay, what's next? Correspondence. Yeah, let's get into it. So as you all know, sorry, I'm on item number 6.1. So as you all know, Joe Pertula has resigned from the committee. From my perspective, there are a number of factors leading to Joe's decision. However, I'm sure we can all understand that City Council's support of the city's move to withdraw from the PCP program was likely a key factor in that decision. That said, the fight must continue, so that's why we're here. And personally, I wanted to thank Joe for his voluntary service as chair of this committee and his many contributions, perhaps most notably his efforts working with city staff on Thorold's annual Earth Day event. Not sure if anyone else wants to say anything on this matter. If no, okay. Justin, I have a question for yourself. Does this open up another spot for this committee?
Yeah, and you read my mind because that was the next thing I was going to mention. So there is one opening for this committee, and our plan is about the beginning of August to open up applications for all vacant committees with the hope that they get confirmed at the September council meeting. That's our timeline as of right now that we're looking at.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Perfect. Okay. Correspondence 6.2. So Jessica Abraham is a developer planner who has been selected to join this committee as staff liaison. Is Jessica on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there she is. Oh, hi, Linda. Sorry. Are you saying hi, or are you raising your hand to talk?
Just
Can you
saying hi
unmute?
to Jessica and
Okay.
welcome her. Yeah.
And I was going to say welcome, Jessica, to the committee, and ask if you wanted to say anything, or we'll just move forward.
You can go ahead and move forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 6.3, the Partners for Climate Protection Program update. As we all know, on the council meeting on June 18th, 2024, council passed a recommendation in report DS 29-2024 to withdraw from the Partners for Climate Protection Program. Yes, Linda.
I'd like to ask the councillors why.
Chair, through you. I don't see Tim, but anyways, why? I can only tell you why I did, I guess. I can't speak for all the other councillors. The previous meeting when this came forward, I said there seemed to be a lot of duplication of services. Was there a better way to do it? Was there shared services, which people ask quite a bit about? Was there a way to piggyback with the region to do this as a whole? And that's what staff came back with. So based on that, that was my reason for supporting staff's recommendation.
Could I ask the same thing of Councillor O'Hare? His decision was any different from Councillor Longo's to withdraw from the climate protection program?
For the record, Linda, Councillor O'Hare was the only councillor who voted against the staff
okay.
motion.
Thank you. Then I don't have to ask him. Thank you very much, Councillor Longo, for your information.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing, you know, it's pretty contentious environment to be in, but that being said, I think what's going to happen, and I said it in the meeting in a roundabout way, we will be joining the Partners for Climate Protection through the region. And hopefully by doing it this way, we can save, we can accomplish the same goals and hopefully save some money, but it may also go the other way. We could accomplish the same goals and spend more money. And I'm not sure how councillors are going to feel about that, but time will come, and I'm not criticizing or praising any decision any other councillor made, but I believe we're going to get relatively the same outcome by the path we've taken. Whether it was a correct one or not, I guess time will tell.
And I'll simply add to that with no disrespect to any councillor, that it, and I don't disagree with anything that you said, Councillor Longo, there is some messaging or apparent messaging that could be read from this decision, however. So that's something that we have to live with. Okay. I'll move on to item number 7 on the agenda, and with this, I'll pass it over to.
I believe Councillor O'Hare has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I use this card?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My apologies. I seem to have wonky internet today. That's why I disappeared. So I may have to disappear again and try another location, which is warming up as we speak. So I just want to add one little thing regarding the vote that took place to stay in the PCP program or get out of the PCP program. One of the things I want to make very clear is that I voted strongly against the to support the PCP program, because I felt that even though there were other options that the city was offering, and Councillor Longo is correct that we'll probably end up joining them one day anyway, is the time delay that it would take the city to start taking measures to help fight climate change. And that now basically is in the court of the region, which means that we will be sitting and waiting until the region makes moves, and then we can follow suit. And many other municipalities, and we have heard, I believe it's 542 that have joined the PCP program to improve their cities, their municipalities' approach to how to fight climate change. Now we sit on the sidelines until something is decided, and that to me is leaves a big gap. We have no idea. Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 10 years? We have no say in that matter. So I was hoping that we would become true leaders in the fight against climate change, but it seems that we will, in fact, be followers and have to wait our turn to make any moves. So that was one of my strongest arguments for why we should be accepting the PCP membership at the time. So I just wanted to make that very clear.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hare. Leslie?
You know, with issues like this, when an advisory group doesn't get the response they want from the politicians, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a dead issue. We could come back with the next council next year with a better argument of where we should be in the process, which we don't have right now. If we had it, we probably had a different response from council. But I wouldn't, I'd put it on the back burner. I would follow it. I would continue with a group that's looking at what it means to a municipality to be involved in order to have a better argument next time, because I believe there will be a next time where it's going to be far more appropriate and it'll be the thing to do. So I'm having it not passed right now doesn't necessarily bother me because I know that I've been involved in many issues where this has been the first strike and we've come back and we've been successful. So just keep making your notes about things that are of value that you see this program would provide, and we'll be back again probably asking for volunteers for another committee in the future.
Agreed. Thanks, Leslie. I'm going to go on to number 7 of the agenda, and at this point I'll pass it over to Justin to move forward with this section.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with nominations for committee chair. So I will now call for nominations for chair. Is there any nominations for committee chair? Linda?
I'd like to nominate Mark.
Okay. And can I get is there a seconder for that? Councillor O'Hare and everyone else? Mark, would you be interested in that position?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and I'll now call the second and third time for nominations for chair. Is there any additional nominations for the position of chair? Seeing none, we'll move to the next section. Can I get a mover and a seconder to close nominations for committee chair? Councillor Longo and Linda. I'll call the question. All those in favor to close nominations? Opposed? That's carried. So there being only one nomination.
Congratulations, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
I'll let everyone else congratulate you before I get the chance. So there you go. Congratulations. Chair free. So now that opens up the position for vice chair. So now we'll move on to that section. I'll now call our nominations for position of vice chair. Is there any nominations? Linda?
I'd like to nominate Joe.
Linda. And any seconders for that? Councilor O'Hare? Joe, would you be interested in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. Now, I'll see, is there any other additional nominations for the committee, for the position of vice chair? Call a second and third time. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing none, move to this next. Motion to close the nominations for vice chair. Can I get a mover for that? Leslie. And seconder, Orlin. I'll call the question. All those in favor to close nominations for vice chair? All opposed? That's carried. So there being only one nomination for vice chair, I'll congratulate Joe.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
So at this point,
And
I'll
thank
pass. Oh,
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
and thank
no
you.
problem.
Mhm.
So at this point, I'll pass the meeting back to committee chair Freeman, and we'll continue on.
Thank you. Okay, moving to agenda item number 8, the working group updates. 8.1 is Earth Day, and I personally do not have an update for this. Does anyone here want to talk about Earth Day 2025? Okay, so
From Martin SD.
sorry.
Call from Martin SD.
That's Leslie's.
Sorry. Did you
Okay.
say? I couldn't hear it.
I don't know, it's somebody's phone system. Anyways, okay, so let's was Joe the chair of that working committee, working group?
Through you, Jared, we had Daniels and Joe were the two people on that committee. So now it's just Leslie right now.
Okay,
that
so
working
we
group.
we would probably need some more volunteers to join that that working group. Do we have?
We can do that
any
now,
volun-
or we can do it later. It's up to you, of course.
Do we have any volunteers now to volunteer to join that working group? Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, I was always on the group with Joe, and there were some significant drawbacks of the way that it was set up. So I really would like some more input from the public about what they expected, because there weren't a lot of people through. And as we also have a problem with the city running the event that led up to Canada Day. Canada Day was great, but the event, the 2 days before that, there were significant problems with people in the public that were vendors, were participants. So Earth Day falls into that category as well. I think we should even consider getting others that have run these sorts of events together with us ad hoc. That might be the way to get new members for that committee. Can we do that, Justin? Appoint ad hoc for working groups?
So a working group has to be less than quorum of this committee, and then other individuals can join, like other stakeholders that might be interested, can also be part of that working group as well.
Okay.
Councilor Longo?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just want to let the committee know that I'm not sure if they're aware, the city does now have a full-time special event coordinator.
Yes.
That person's responsible for basically coordinating events, and this would be one that I think would be perfect for. So we should probably bring him on board for a meeting to discuss what we're looking for. And a lot of the planning should be done through staff with direction from this committee. At least that's my feeling. Many of the members on this committee are volunteers, right? So we need to utilize our full-time staff to coordinate this. And I think I read somewhere in the minutes previous meetings that we were going to look to partner with other organizations, other cities potentially, maybe St. Catharines, maybe the region. And as I had mentioned before, and I'll stick by it, I think the Canada Games facility be a superior facility to have an event like this. And this is where that coordination needs to come in through our special events coordinator. So that's just my opinion on it. So.
To be clear, is that special event coordinator, is that Jacob?
Yeah, that's true.
Correct.
Okay,
He's
Okay.
already on that committee and was for the Canada Games, for the Earth Day event as well.
so Leslie, I think it's a good idea, as you suggested, perhaps yourself, and if there's other members of the public that that want to contribute along with Jacob, then you could sort of regroup with that with those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this item?
Chair, I do have one more question to Leslie. She had mentioned about the previous Earth Day event. Unfortunately, I was out of town that day. I couldn't make it. What did you say about the attendance? Did you say it was good or not good?
I said it was not good.
Okay.
When I did the review after, I pointed out I didn't want to be negative because the city had never run one like this. But I did point out things that citizens groups have to do because we use volunteers compared to what staff can do within their job. It's just a small portion of the work that they do. And one thing that came to light was it was great to have staff and be able to tell them, do a flyer so we can put it out. But when it doesn't go out until a week or so before, it's a problem. It was a problem with vendors. We gave him a list, combined list of community groups that have been involved with events that we've run and other groups have run. And we had 46. And when I called 2 weeks beforehand to Jacob and said to him, how many vendors do we have committed? Because that's always a problem. He said 14. And I said, well, what happened to the other ones? Oh, they didn't, we sent out an email and they didn't respond. And I said, you know what a citizen group would do? They would phone each one of them and find out why they weren't. A lot of them plan a year in ahead. So that's why we wanted a date for next year, to be able to go to the vendors, give them the date, give them a flyer or something, and lock them in now, not wait. And we had a short timeline to set it up. I'm not negative about all the work that was done. I just think it could have been done differently, relying on the advice and if people have done it before, bring them in to tell us what we could have done better.
Yeah, no, I do agree, Leslie. I think we need to learn from our mistakes, but also, I guess in defense of Jacob, he was transitioning into the job.
Yeah.
But I think with a year, well, less than a year out now, I'm going to have a talk with senior staff just to understand his role and see what he can do to get this moving along sooner rather than later, so we don't have the issue of not having enough for the proper vendors there.
Yeah,
okay?
Because that was what was significant. That's a huge arena to have that few vendors. And I don't want to send that message to the public when they come in and they don't see any, crowds. Because when you look at Canada Day, it was exceptional this year, but it was really good last year. And so people are coming back And that's what we want to get. And I fully agree. Jacob didn't have a lot of time to set this up, but now we know where some of the problems were. Hopefully we can address them quickly and be prepared. Sort of like Stag and Doe. 1 month you do before a wedding, you have Stag and Doe. Next month you have another thing until you get to the event. We need to look at events in that manner in order not to be discussing things like this afterward.
Agreed. Thanks, Leslie. I think there are a lot of lessons learned around communication for this previous Earth Day event, but it is my understanding is it's one of the first ones, right, that the city has done. So we'll get better.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions on that, Linda?
I thought since it was such a short notice and all the rest of it, I thought it was quite a successful day. Even if the attendance was low, it was a beginning, and we had people come to participate. And so I thought that made it a successful date because it was a start, and we can only improve from that because of longer term planning for the following year. And so people would be looking for that event now, where they weren't looking for it before we actually did it. So I think that the committee can take a plus from this day. And I think annual Earth Day activities are very important to raise the level of the issue of climate change.
Agreed. Thanks, Linda. Carrie?
Through you, Chair, I was just going to add that I think that all in all, from our staff attended the event and had a table, and they gave me really good feedback about the day. And some of my colleagues also attended with their family and said that it was a nice event. And I will just say, to the city of Thorold's credit, it is really tough to get people out to Earth Day events because there's so many competing events going on in other municipalities and other areas. So I think you're right to kind of build on the success from this year and hopefully get more and more people. There are always, we find like at the NPCA around Earth Day, there's always radio stations and newspapers and things like that looking for a list of Earth Day events. So knowing your details early and having a website or something like that to point people to is helpful. That way, when we get asked that question, we can say, okay, this is what the city of Thorold's doing, this is what the city of St. Catharines is doing, and just kind of getting that information a little bit earlier. But again, that's the challenges of the short turnaround this year.
Agreed. Thanks, Carrie. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on to 8.2 Boulevard planting. I believe that progress is being made here, but we are going to need to regroup again, the working group that is. What we're looking at right now is to develop proposals for developing potentially a new bylaw pertaining to the city-owned land, specifically boulevards, that would enable residents to lawfully plant in that area. We're also want to look at reviewing and updating any existing bylaws for private property, specifically looking at the Clean Yards Act, as well as the list of noxious weeds. And would also want to look at or investigate any bylaws requirements for enabling community gardens, and that would be either private and or city-owned land potentially. So we are going to need to regroup on that. Is there any other comment or question? I was just going to try to nail down a time that we can meet on those topics. If there's no other comments, then Leslie, I think the members are Leslie and Linda and Helen, correct? So,
Mr. Chair, I have Leslie and Helen as the
oh, Leslie
members.
and Helen. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So can we nail down a date sometime next week to have a discussion on this? Or is that too early, Leslie? What do you think?
No, it's just, I have, the OHA convention next week. So I'll be gone from the 11th to the 14th. I have to prepare for that. So the following week would probably be better for me than next.
Okay. So one day on the week of the 15th. What do you have a date to suggest there, Leslie?
No, I don't, but Monday Jeff gets back. How about I find out what his calendar looks like, because I'd like him involved as well. So, and he wants to be involved. So maybe we can come up with a date early next week and you can put out an email.
So are we talking early next week, meaning the 8th of July? Or 2 weeks from now, the week of the 15th?
Okay, so the 8th is the day that Jeff gets back. And we need to talk to him about what he wants from the committee. So I can't make a judgment whether I doubt he's going to be available the day he gets back from vacation.
Right. I just want to clarify, Leslie, is he coming back on the 8th or the 15th?
8th.
So next week.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be away the second half of that week, so we'll likely meet the week of the 15th, but let's get some feedback from Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Monday the 15th is probably the best for me,
Okay.
because I'm free anytime.
And hang on, Justin, I know you're there. I thought I had something on my calendar for the 15th. No, I moved it. Okay, good. Justin, go ahead.
So would you like to formally add any other members to this working group? We have Leslie and Helen right now. It sounds like you yourself might want to join. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
yes, I would like to. Yes.
All right, we get a mover and a seconder for that. Yeah, I'll let you
Question
take care
to
of that.
Justin.
But
As chairman, isn't he already a member of
Yeah.
both committees?
I don't have that in anything that I've seen, but it may be. I'm not sure, but it wouldn't hurt to just formalize it. I know Joe was formalized on all of the working groups, so that was the approach that we've been carrying on with.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to get me to be added, Justin?
Yeah. It may not be needed, but it doesn't hurt since we have already done this process with the past chair. So
Okay, so I see Joe and seconded by Linda.
Okay.
Thank you. So just to confirm, Leslie, we'll hear back from you early next week after you talk to Jeff when he's back, and tentatively scheduled for the 15th or sometime later in that week, but it looks like tentatively the 15th to meet. Okay. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll move on. Okay. And I have to apologize. I'm toggling between some notes on my screen and this screen, so I'm going to start talking. I may not see you raise a hand, so just give me a few minutes to get through what I say, and then I'll come back and look. All right. So the next agenda item is 8.3, the committee long-term goals. So I can report on this working group that at a high level, we've agreed on long-term goals and objectives related to mitigating biodiversity loss and climate change, along with taking climate adaptation measures. Starting with biodiversity loss, from that perspective, we really need to assess the loss or degradation of natural habitat due to development as well as pollution in the city. And just to state that best practices generally require for biodiversity to thrive, we need somewhere between 30 to 50%, depending on what you read, who you listen to. We need between 30 to 50% of land to be left in a natural and connected state. Unfortunately, my understanding is that Thorold has already lost over 70% of its natural habitat. So my question is to the city, do we have an inventory of green spaces within the municipal boundaries? And by green space, I'm referring to actual natural land, not parks, not playgrounds, but natural land. So I'm not sure if that's a question for yourself, Justin, or Jessica, perhaps. Not to answer now, but perhaps take away.
We do have natural heritage zones, usually just like tree planted or just regional specific zones outlined by the region.
Natural heritage zones?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that capture, when I hear heritage, I'm thinking more along the lines of buildings and things like that, but does it include just, like I know where I live, right, where in the area that I live, we have wetlands, either on either side of us, we have wetlands. So is that included in that inventory, just on either end of Merritt Road? I'm talking about. Would that be included in there?
Wetlands, I think, are usually, there's usually restrictions on what can be built on them as well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so is this something that is easy to provide the working group so we can understand what natural areas remain in the city?
Let's see if I can get a map of it or something. I'll probably have to reach out to the region for it.
Okay. That'd be great. That's kind of our starting point. We can also look at any previously developed land that has been abandoned for potential rewilding. But again, I know it all depends on zoning and other things, but it's something that we can look at. So if we had an understanding of green spaces as well as abandoned developed areas, that would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna say maybe like your natural heritage zone mapping overlaid with property that the municipality actually owns. Because that could show core chunks of municipal land that either are sitting out all by themselves and lonely and need to be renaturalized or form part of a larger core area. Because we mostly just would have control over advising the municipality of where to put some better quality green space. So can we put both of those together?
I'll see what maps I can pull up on it.
Thank you, Jessica.
No problem.
That was our sort of high-level view of biodiversity. If there's no other comment on that, I'll move on to, all right. Oh, we also have the Gibson Lake Corridor activities that are going on, and looking to see if there's any update on those activities. Joe?
Not, excuse me, no specific update other than, we did have a nice little meeting with senior staff that, this is 3-4 weeks ago now.
Right.
And the general consensus by staff is that we should carry on with our mapping project, which would dovetail into your biodiversity. If you looked at the total area that we're talking about, it's quite extensive. Now, also, strictly speaking, when you're talking about biodiversity and rewilding and things like that, most of the Lake Gibson corridor is was created by the Seaway and Ontario Hydro at the time. So there may well be a couple of strips of old growth or Carolinian or regrowth Carolinian forest, but most of it is wetland, swampland, water. But sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. I should have been more prepared to give some kind of an update on that.
No, it's okay. I'll tell you what, Joe, is the question is, I believe that the mapping activity is the main activity that's going on right now. Do we have any ideas to the timelines as to when that is going to be done?
Not, well, as quickly as possible, but it's another one of these things that's moving at the speed of government.
Understood. But somebody within the city is primed for that, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we are working towards it, and hopefully it's going to be done sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
We may, there was some talk, I don't know whether they've officially been asked or not, but I think it was the Escarpment Commission. Anyway, we were, the big thing is to put out our request for proposals, and there was talk about the Conservation Authority. They actually have some experience in that, and our advisory committee chair was going to reach out to them to see whether or not they could put it together for us rather than having staff do it or members of the committee trying to do it. And at that, I will cease my rambling, but unless there's any other questions.
Yeah, I don't see anything from anybody else. So Joe, that's I'm just not up to speed on this very much, so maybe we can connect offline, okay? A little bit more, but right.
Well, I will say that one of the things we were considering was hiring a professional drone person, drone pilot to.
Oh, drone, right.
Yeah. As well as with the mapping, because there are areas that you'd almost need an airboat to get to within the territory that we're talking about. So having a proper drone survey in conjunction with the mapping was something that we were actively considering.
So just a thought, there's good satellite imagery in Southern Ontario as well, which show sort of this inaccessible wet type areas, because with the drone, you still need an interpreter to say what you're looking at. Like, is it dead ash or is it, wet under there? Like if you get the full tree cover, you might not know what's under it. But there's some good satellite imagery that might have winter and summer, and you can kind of, I think MPCA has that, but I also think it's online, like it's accessible to the public.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I have looked at Ontario's website, the government of Ontario.
Oh yeah, they have a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked at the again, the area where I live, and they do show where the provincially significant wetlands are, the woodlands are, but I don't know exactly what level of detail is being is required for the mapping for this.
If I may, the reason for the potentially having a drone go through there is I agree that satellite imagery is great, but if you have a drone with just going through and doing a bit of a survey with movies, like save those, and you could see in real time if there were deer or coyotes or whatever wandering around. And I'll grant you with the tree cover, you don't know what's underneath there. So the my personal thought on it was if we could, I've no idea even how much something like that costs at this point. And I've also got no idea whether it's even a professional drone company, whatever you call them, would be allowed to fly as close to the canal as I would like them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
May or may not be legal.
So you need a non-professional drone company.
Okay.
Well, the problem the problem is to have a drone with enough range and size. Strangely enough, this came up with my brother on the weekend, and he's got a real nice drone that he can't fly anywhere because it's no longer legal. Period. Fly the darn thing. I've got a little one that I bought for like $100, and technically I can't fly it at my parents' farm because we're within 5 kilometers of a private aerodrome.
Airport, yeah. Leslie, you have your hand up. You have to unmute.
I just left because the phone keeps ringing. In February, we had Bruce McKenzie speak to us at the Thorough Garden Club. And he was Grimsby's person on the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. And actually, he was showing us video of different wetlands. There's a whole bunch of different types of wetlands, which I had no idea about. And he had maps, he had pictures. So he might be, and he is well known as an expert in this area. He might well be somebody we want to touch bases with, but might have some of the information that's being requested right now, or he might know where it is to make this process quicker.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Just making a note. Okay, definitely we're gonna have to circle back on this one, Joe. But for now, let's move forward. The other objectives that we had talked about that we need to turn into something more tangible, of course, is climate change mitigation. And again, just to go over the high level, is that we want it to be in accordance with the Paris Agreement, which says we need to reduce our greenhouse gases by 45% by 2030. So now that the city's withdrawn from the PCP program, as Councillor Longo indicated earlier, we're really looking to work with the region. They have a couple of different programs that will be taking action in this area. I was actually wondering if anyone from the city had an update on those initiatives, and I'm talking about the Niagara Climate Change Action Network, as well as the Niagara Climate Change Municipal Community of Practice. So does anyone from the city have an update on where they are? Last I heard, they were looking for provincial funding. It was supposed to be in the spring, and now they are saying maybe the fall. That's all I've heard. So looking to Jessica again, I suppose.
Sorry, what was the name of the?
Yep, hang on. So there's the Niagara Climate Change Action Network.
Okay.
And that's been around for a few years, made up of a number of different groups, as well as the municipalities. And then the newer one is the Niagara Climate Change Municipal Community of Practice, which again, I believe Councillor Longo was referring to, in that they had some potentially shared resources for taking action here. So if we could understand, the last I spoke to them, I had a contact name given to me from them. It wasn't your name. It was, it escapes me. I can look that up and send it to you, okay? So maybe he has an update that I'm not aware of.
Sure.
Okay, Linda, you had a question?
Not a question, but there is another interest group in the Niagara area called 50 by 30.
Yes.
To reduce the greenhouse gases and stuff 50% by 2030. That's their aim. So they're active. I haven't been to any of their meetings. I did hear the leader speak at one of our meetings, and it was quite an interesting group.
Yes, I'm actually a fairly active member in that group. So yeah, they're looking to do some things, a bit of a holding pattern right now, because the biggest win that we could ever imagine was handed to us on a plate by the Ontario Energy Board and then quickly killed by the Doug Ford government. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern after that. Okay, what else? In terms of, the other comment I was going to make here, and again is consistent with Councillor O'Hare and Leslie's comments about there are some things we can do. Question again to the city about energy. Do we have a City of Thorold energy consumption plan? Maybe it's something that's been done in the past. I'm just not aware of it. If you look at a lot of the work that's being done under the PCP program across Canada, specifically Ontario, the first steps municipalities typically take is looking at energy consumption within your own buildings, within your own vehicles, and within even things like street lights. So the question is there an activity that has been done or is planned to be done in that area? And if not, then that's something we can help look at.
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into it for sure.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting there. The last item that we had in terms of high-level objectives was climate change adaptation. So from that perspective, we need to be aware of the potential for consequences of extreme weather events. We've probably already seen this year that we're going to likely see more and more thunderstorms in the area, as well as heat waves. I understand today it's going to be up to 37 degrees with the heat index or the humididex, whatever you want to call it. So what we would recommend is looking at the most vulnerable human population in Thorold, as well as valuable natural areas, which ties back to green spaces, as well as the most important human-made structures, man-made structures in the city. So that's what we're thinking in terms of climate adaptation. We need to make sure that the elderly, for example, that don't have air conditioning, there's a plan for when the temperature is going to be unlivable in apartments. So that's sort of the area that we're going down with climate adaptation. Okay, but again, we need to do some more work on that. And I was hoping to get a meeting on that as well in the next few weeks. And again, Justin, if you could help me out, who's on? I should know this. I believe it's myself. It was Joe and Leslie and Linda and Helen.
Let me check the list again. Got Leslie, you, Linda, and Helen.
Okay, so maybe the week after the 15th, if there's some time. Let me just bring up the calendar again. And we can turn these high-level objectives into something more tangible. So that would be the week of the 22nd of July. I can be available on most of those days.
I haven't got my calendar here.
I'll tell you what, I can just take an action to send a note out offline and try to set something up for that week.
All right.
So we'll be notified of the time and place.
Well, I'm going to send out a note asking when people are available,
Yeah, okay.
maybe with a couple of suggestions.
And then you'll indicate time and place.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And
Mike.
if anyone has any dates that are off the table, let me know now.
Yeah, so not Wednesdays generally.
Not Wednesday.
I
Okay,
don't have my calendar ahead of me, in front of me, but I think it's pretty blank.
that's fine.
One thing I just wanted to add with your climate change, so there's mitigation, then we're talking adaptation. We also spoke about green infrastructure because that would be something like squarely in the municipal realm, right? Like one example we spoke of was last time was the permeable paving. So like when they're replacing parking lots, we're just increasing the risk to the other infrastructure, the sewers, the underground, more expensive infrastructure when we put like either non-permeable paving or put a sewer storm grate right in the middle of a parking lot. Like I think Beaver Dams Park is an excellent example. They have brand new parking lot there that's not environmentally friendly in any way, with the storm sewer right in it. When you go to the other end of the park, there's a storm sewer in the park. So the trees and grass can drink all the water. And if there's too much left over, then it goes into the storm sewer. So I've noticed that in a lot of parking lots that they plant trees and then they siphon all the water off into a ditch somewhere. So I think we were adding that to our our adaptation goals, just the whole, what is green infrastructure, where it's at, and who's doing good things that the city can follow, because
Yeah, so
that's what stage we're at, is following what other people do. So the other municipalities have tried a lot, and I know we mentioned that NPCA did a permeable parking lot. So there's construction workers out there who can do it, and examples of whether it works or not, I guess.
yeah, I actually looked at it from my own driveway and it was really expensive, but
Well, the municipality is loaded, so
sure.
it's expensive to overflow your sewer systems
Well,
as well, right? So
well, this is, you know what,
climate change is expensive. That's what we were told 40 years ago.
I bite my tongue as I say it because I realize that spending the money up front is definitely the way to go instead of spending it for the next 50 years in recovering. So the way I look at that, and Linda, I know you have your hand up. Hang on.
Yeah, okay.
Helen, I was looking at that as falling under climate change mitigation, in fact.
Oh, okay.
And what I didn't get into is the details of, you know, where we really need to go with this is looking at the official plans. And that, again, involves the region. But if we can look at the official plans, then we can look at actually having some green development standards, which covers a whole wide range of things.
Yes.
From zero emission buildings all the way to green infrastructure that the municipality is responsible for. So absolutely, it's on the list.
Okay.
Linda?
And I was just going to mention, I was disappointed when they went by the new dog park on Beaver Dams Road and they were paving the parking lot. Now there's some part that's being left a bit of gravel, but a good part of the parking lot has been paved with black tar.
When was that?
Last week maybe, or the week.
I drove by it like for Canada Day, and I remember that meeting, and they said they were going to leave it gravel, and I drove by it twice, and it was gravel. But
well, there's some gravel, but there's some blacktop there too.
They had an apron, I think, which is pavement. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the majority of the parking lot is gravel. It's the entranceway that's asphalt, and I think they needed to do that. But the vast majority of that parking lot is gravel. So, and
okay.
Yeah.
I was just upset with the any blacktop that's there. Anyway, that's okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay. That was it for number 8, unless there's any other comments, questions. Oh, Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, so just under some of the high level objectives that I noted, we had kind of flagged educating staff and council. And we were wondering what that looked like. So we were just sort of you know, it would be a demonstration areas, how that would pan out. So a higher level objective was providing some educational stuff. And then we also had tree planting, maintenance, street trees, that sort of thing was sort of a higher level. The trees and the boulevard gardens, which we've already discussed, but we had that in our. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's still all there. I was just trying to cover off the high level in this session. And I do believe education of residents of everybody is extremely important. And that's something that we'll be going down that path, I hope, at some point, talking about available webinars and things like that are, again, both that city staff could be looking at, as well as communicating out to the public to be looking at.
Yeah, and I think we could almost add like messaging, because when the council voted for suspending the program, the PCPP program, you know, I read about it in the paper and the messaging looks bad. Like it looks like we're not doing anything about climate change. So like, if there were valid reasons for them vote and if other things are going on, I think that could have been stressed, you know, by the council. It's like, we're doing these other things and we think it's duplication and we don't want to, and there could have been so much, a press release or something, so the council doesn't look so bad. It's disappointing to read about it. So that sort of educates the public as well, that, you know, just because this thing got voted this way, there could be some messaging there to encourage people to know that the city is working on these things. And that's the list of my
Yep.
my high level things.
And I have no comment.
Okay, good.
Good. All right. With that, I'm going to go to number 9 and round table discussion. If there's anything else anyone would like to talk about today, and I'm going to go around on what I see on my screen. So Leslie? I'm hearing no, but you're muted. So I'm going to.
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you. No problem. We've talked about a lot. So Linda?
Not at this time.
Councillor O'Hare?
Chair, just a couple of things in and taking these roles on. I really appreciate it, as do all residents in the city, to make our committees work well. So thank you for taking that step. Lastly, my internet was cutting out, so I missed 6.2. So I just want to welcome Jessica and look forward to working with you at the city. I really am happy to see another planner join our ranks. It's always something to celebrate. So look forward to meeting you in person. Thanks.
And sorry, but you cut out, your internet again was cutting out at the very beginning. So I didn't hear the first 10, 15 seconds of what you said.
Oh, the first 10 or 15 seconds didn't matter. I just wanted to say thank you to yourself, Mark and Joe, for stepping up and volunteering to make our committees work.
Okay, and with that, Joe, anything to add? No, thank you. Helen?
I was just gonna, like, I brought up before, one of my pet peeves is like the damage done by mowers and stuff. So I was just gonna say, I'm probably gonna submit something maybe to Councillor O'Hare, just like as a private citizen, saying like, I have concerns about the way trees are being abused in various parks. And I'll put together like some photos of what I'm talking about and some specific pieces. But it's just been bugging me for a long time. Every time I go for a walk, there's some new atrocity committed to another newly planted tree or an old tree. So I just want to say, I'm not on behalf of the committee, but I'll probably just send something.
And that's a really interesting point. Your trigger, there's a trigger going off in my head, because a pet peeve of mine is the green space that's right behind my house gets cut down on a regular basis, and it is maddening. Yeah. Every time the butterflies and the bees start to flourish and the flowers are out, They come and cut it down.
Yeah.
Why? So if I have a complaint like that, who do I send it to?
Everyone.
Sorry?
You send it to everyone.
Anyways, I'll take that offline. All right, Councillor Longo,
Nothing to add, Chair. Thank you.
thank you. Jessica, welcome again, and anything to add or ask?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Justin,
Nothing to add.
thank you. And
Hi,
finally,
I'm sorry.
Carrie.
I have nothing further to add except to Helen's point about the trees. I did go back and forth quite a bit last year with a company called Devron looking for a proper tree guard that would withstand a whippersnipper. So if anybody's looking for suggestions on tree guards, I've been trying to find a good one with them.
Leslie, you had your chance. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, that is, I've heard those comments about what damage is being done to the trees. I was at the library and they were finishing up mowing and they were starting to do around the trees. I went up to the one kid because they were young and I said, has anyone told you how to do this around trees so you don't cause damage? And they said, no, why? And I said, well, suggest it to the person that's running because he was on the tractor, that you discuss it together so that you're not doing more damage than you are good. I mean, the trees at the library, you can see the damage that's been done and continues to be done every time the city goes out to do work. And we've looked at it at Beaver Downs Park across the street. We've looked at it park, the Cenotaph Park behind the senior center and the library. And they're all done by the city and there's significant damage. And if they continue, the trees will die. So I agree.
So I'm sending a letter with the pictures and I haven't written it yet. And with some best management practices, like a memo they can distribute to how to do this. It's old news. We know how to grow a tree. So I just gotta do something finally instead of complain about it.
Good idea.
Agreed. Okay. Whoops. Sorry.
Mark, perhaps we could take this up as an issue at our next meeting, and if Helen has her letter written, we could actually pass a motion to deal with it as well.
I
to
actually
support her.
Okay, I will produce something as soon as I can before the next.
And Mark, I think if you can produce something similar for your backyard, then we could actually produce a motion for that as well, because that's what we are, an advisory committee. And we need to advise them as to how to do these things.
Yeah.
I love it. And I was actually making a note and I was going to throw that on the agenda for next month. So that's perfect. Thank you. Okay. And with that, our next meeting, it's not going to be until September 6th. Well, I guess we're going to be busy in July with a couple of working group meetings. Okay. So the next official meeting is September 6th of this committee. And there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 11:09 a.m.
Thanks, everyone. Have a